Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Kishore Kishori Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Stotra Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Stotra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, good morning everyone. Thanks for coming to class today. Thanks Damodar Smaran Prabhu for playing the mridanga so nicely. Haribol. Subal Prabhu requested I give class today. Not so prepared, but I'll do my best with the pleasure of their lordships. So please bless me that I can say something that is in line with our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya and Guru Parampara. Oh yeah, I wanted to read the translation to Jai Radha Madhava just to give myself and maybe others a little refresher. This is such a nice prayer, we sing it every day. I'm just going to read the English translation. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Vraja, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, and the beloved son of Mother Yashoda. He delights the inhabitants of Vraj and wanders in the forests along the banks of the river Yamuna. This is a quote here in the Vaishnavacharya book. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of this song and sang it before his lectures. In Allahabad and Gorakhpur, Srila Prabhupada fell into a trance after singing the first two lines, and after some time he came back into external consciousness and said, quote, "Now just chant Hare Krishna," end quote. Srila Prabhupada said that this song is a picture of Vrindavan. Everything is there. Srimati Radharani, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Yashoda, and all the cowherd boys. Jai Radha Madhava. Oh, another quick note. In the song we sing Kunja Bihari. Does anyone know what Kunja Bihari means? Kunja Vihari is to him who enjoys loving pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. And I think Kunja is like a thicket or a forest, yeah. I was reminded yesterday that our temple, our dham, is called New Seva Kunj, which I just found out from Mother Premarasa Mataji. She had mentioned that Srila Prabhupada named our temple as New Seva Kunj. You had mentioned that there's always new seva to perform for the deities. Mataji had mentioned that the Kishore and Kishori, they if people aren't serious, they don't keep them around. So if they don't do seva, the deities, they won't keep people around. Anyways, let's see here. I forgot my phone. Just 1 second. Here we go. Verses before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shranvatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hriyantastihi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suritstatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nastaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Jai. So today we're starting a new chapter in our Srimad Bhagavatam class, chapter 20, 10th canto, part 2, and we're going to be reading text 1 and 2, but we'll chant text 1 together. Please chant. Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayos Tad Abhutam Karma Davagnir Moksham Atmanaha Gopa Sribaya Samachakyu Pralambavadhameva Cha Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayostad Adbhutam Karma Davagnir Moksham Atmanaha Gopa Sribaya Samachakyu Pralambavadhameva Cha Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayostad Adbhutam Karma Davagnir Moksham Atmana Gopastribhya Samachakyu Pralambavadhameva Cha. Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayostad Adbhutam Karma Davagnir Moksham Atmana Gopastribhya Samachakyu Pralambavadhameva Cha. Sri Shuka Uvacha Tayostad Adbhutam Karma Davagnir Moksham Atmana Gopastribhya Samachakyu Pralambavadhanameva Cha. Rohini Mataji, do you want to chant? Okay. Word for word. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Tayo, of the two of them, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, Tat, that, Adbhutam, amazing, Karma, action, Davagne, from the forest fire, Moksham, the deliverance, Atmana, of themselves, Gopa, the cowherd boys, Sribhya, to the ladies, Samachakyu, they described in detail. Pralambavadham, the killing of Pralambasura. Eva, indeed. Cha, also. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, at the beginning of this chapter, there's a little description that I'll read first. Chapter 20, the rainy season and autumn in Vrindavan. To enhance the description of Krishna's pastimes, Sri Shukadeva Goswami describes in this chapter the beauty of Vrindavan during autumn and the rainy season. In the course of his presentation, he gives various charming instructions in metaphorical terms. So I'll read the translation to text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, to the ladies of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys then related in full detail Krishna's and Balaram's wonderful activities of delivering them from the forest fire and killing the demon Pralamba. And I'll chant text 2. Gopavidascha gopascha tad upakarna vismitaha menir deva paravaryo Krishna ramo rajam gato. Translation. The elder cowherd men and ladies were amazed to hear this account, and they concluded that Krishna and Balaram must be exalted demigods who had appeared in Vrindavan. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees. So today we're going to describe a little bit about the rainy season and autumn in Vrindavan. And since there are no purports, just translations, I'm going to read a little bit from Krishna book, because there's a really awesome chapter in there called The Description of Autumn. And it's actually one of Jacindra Prabhu's favorite chapters in the Krishna book. So yeah, well, I'm going to talk about 3 things, and the first topic is the wonderful activities of Krishna, which is described in the first verse. The cowherd boy is related to, in full detail, Krishna and Balaram's wonderful activities. So in Krishna book is full of Krishna and Balaram's wonderful activities. So I'm just going to read the chapter in Krishna book, which is describing this chapter that we're studying in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna. Chapter 20, Description of Autumn. The killing of Pralambasura and the devouring of the devastating forest fire by Krishna and Balaram became household topics in Vrindavan. The cowherd men described these wonderful activities to their wives and to everyone else, and all were struck with wonder. They concluded that Krishna and Balaram were demigods who had kindly come to Vrindavan to become their children. In this way, the rainy season ensued. In India, after the scorching heat of the summer, the rainy season is very welcome. The clouds accumulated in the sky, covering the sun and the moon, become very pleasing to the people, and they expect rainfall at every moment. After summer, the advent of the rainy season is considered to be a life-giving source for everyone. The thunder and occasional lightning are also pleasurable to the people. So that's just the first paragraph. And this is the description of autumn. And does anyone know by offhand the first day of autumn, first day of fall? It's the autumnal equinox, which was actually last Monday. And the autumnal equinox is the noting of the first day of fall. And equinox is basically when there's an equal amount of light and an equal amount of dark. So now we're officially in the fall season, and our nights are going to get shorter and shorter because we're going into, I believe so, the sun sets sooner. Essentially, yeah. So yeah, it's last week officially was the first day of fall. So this is kind of the perfect time to enter into these pastimes because, yeah, we're just following Krishna and Balaram's tale because right now it's autumn in Chicago. And yeah, I'm reminded of, I often speak to my grandmother and grandfather, and they live in northern Wisconsin, and they're near Canada, and the leaves start to turn. There's lots of trees there, and the leaves start to turn this very beautiful color. And people will come, although they live in a very small town, people will come from all over the world just to see the leaves turn. And so like that, I think people will come to see something beautiful. People will come from all over the world just to see something. And has anyone ever heard of the pizza effect? You guys have all heard of pizza, right? You guys know what pizza is? This is a story I heard from Devamritaswamy. And he was describing pizza, essentially. And pizza in Italy was actually, it was known as like a low-class food. Like only the peasants would eat pizza. The high-class people, they would turn it away, they would never eat pizza. And somehow or other, the pizza got sent over to America. And so the Americans found it, and they loved it. They said, oh, this is great. So then pizza became a first-class American food, and everyone in America loved it. Somehow or other, Italy and USA, they brought it back over to Italy, and then it got introduced as a first-class American food. And so everyone in Italy, they say, oh, wow. They love the pizza. So he was describing how Srila Prabhupada in India in 50s and 60s, people weren't really interested in Krishna consciousness. So he brought it over to America and introduced it to the Americans and the Europeans, and everyone took to it, like wildfires. Pizza, everyone loves pizza. So yeah, people, when there's something attractive, people will naturally gravitate towards that. And yeah, he was saying how Krishna is for everyone. It's not that, the sun rises in the east, so it belongs to the east, and it's not that the east is better than the west, actually. It's the combination of these two things that makes it brilliant. And Srila Prabhupada often gives that analogy of the west and the east, of the lame man and the blind man, how separately they really, can't do much work, but if you put the lame and the blind man together, I think you put one of them on your shoulders or something like that. And anyway, like the productivity of the West, like the go get them, like just do it sort of attitude, and then India's like prolonged culture of worship and religion. So combining those two together, yeah. So that's I thought I would talk a little bit about pizza in Bhagavatam class. The second topic I wanted to go over is from the second text number 2. And it's this in the Sanskrit, it's called upakarnya, which in our word for word, it means hearing. So this word hearing, I think is very important. Hearing is essential in anyone's life. Whatever we hear, our minds are like sponges, so we absorb. And yeah, hearing these activities, the elder cowherd men and the ladies were amazed. They were amazed to hear this account. And I was actually reflecting this morning the verse from the Tulsi prayers, which Sarvapalma Prabhu sings so nicely. The text, E nivedana daro sakira anugata karo. Does anyone know that text offhand from the Tulsi prayers? A little difficult, but this verse from the Tulsi prayers that we sing every morning at Mangal Arti, it's begging actually. It's requesting, it says, I beg you to make me a follower of the cowherd damsels of Vraj. So we'll hear a lot about in this chapter the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan. This chapter is describing autumn in Vrindavan. Anyways, that prayer is just so beautiful, and Prabhupada often, he wanted us to know the prayers and to not be like parrots or puppets, but to enter deeply into the meditations of the songs of the Vaishnavacharyas. So yeah, this upakarnya is the hearing process. And does anyone know the 9 processes of devotional service?
No, we need for the people that are online.
Now I'll forget now. Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakya Amani Vedanam.
Nice.
Hearing, well, that's just Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
If you ask me to do the translation, I might forget something. But I think we know them. You can look them up. So 7:5:23, that verse. So.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah. I like engaging, asking questions in class because sometimes it's nice to helps me pay attention. I remember going to class as a kid in school, and if I just heard a lecture, I would kind of pass out, you know. But if the teacher was engaging and we asked questions throughout the lecture, I was like, oh, put me on the spot, you know. Anyways, so hearing is a very important process. Does anyone know who mastered this process? Who is the great devotee who took shelter of this process of hearing? Dr. Adam, remember? Do you know who took shelter of the hearing process? Pariksha Maharaj. Ding, ding. He had a gold star. Yeah. So yeah, hearing is the first step actually in our devotional service. And we should be very anxious, actually. We should be thinking, how can we share this message with others? Because hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing the Lord's Kirtan and the Holy Name is beneficial for everyone. Devamrita Swami was saying that Krishna is for everyone. And we should be taxing ourselves. How can we share this message with others? And we ourselves should become purified, and we should humble ourselves. And we should become a messenger of Srila Prabhupada and our gurus. And we should go out and we should try to give people Krishna consciousness in the form of books, in prasadam, in the holy name. We can teach people the Maha Mantra. And really, that's the greatest thing we could do in this age, is to help people come closer to God. And on this note, I wanted to read another little short paragraph from this chapter in the Krishna book, because it's such a good chapter. It's an amazing chapter. Once again, it's one of Jachinjya Prabhu's favorite chapters. So I'll read another little paragraph here. When Maharaj Dasarath, the father of Lord Ramachandra, used to fight with his enemies, it was said that he approached them just like a farmer uprooting unnecessary plants and trees. And when there was need of giving charity, he used to distribute money exactly as the cloud distributes rain. The distribution of rain by clouds is so sumptuous that it is compared to the distribution of wealth by a great, munificent person. The cloud's downpour is so sufficient that the rains even fall on rocks and hills and on the oceans and seas where there is no need for water. It is like a charitable person who opens his treasury for distribution and who does not discriminate whether the charity is needed or not. He gives in charity open-handed. So this is just what Lord Chaitanya taught, and this is exactly what Srila Prabhupada did. Most munificent, Namo Mahavadanyaya, he came to give what everyone had forgotten. And Prabhupada just distributed it to everyone who wanted it. And we should try to follow in his footsteps to our capacity. That text from the Guru Vastakam Ganatam, the quality of a cloud, the spiritual master extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. And the rain clouds, like it says in the text, that they don't care whether there's rain or not. Even in the ocean, it's raining. Ocean of mercy. Hearing, we should really pay attention to the things that we hear. Mother Dhanakeli Mataji, when she was here giving a lecture, things that I've been reflecting on since she spoke was our consciousness is like a mirror. She was talking about Chaito Darpana Marjanam, the first text of the Shikshashtakam, and how whatever you put in front of the mirror, it'll reflect. So if you put like a flower in front of the mirror, you'll see a flower. But if you put like a television advertisement, you'll see that, a billboard or something. So whatever we see, will absorb. So she was saying if you put Prema Bhakti there, gradually Prema Bhakti will develop. So whatever we hear, whatever we see, our senses, we should really be careful and very vigilant. Sibal Prabhu was saying yesterday, constant cultivation. Every moment, we should be fighting. We should be walking away from Maya and marching towards Krishna. 24/7 we should be engaged. And a great devotee said that there's actually great freedom in like a rigid schedule, like a very strict schedule. You don't really have time to space out. There's no time for Maya if you're just constantly serving the devotees or serving your guru or serving the deities, just serving the mission in general. So the last point I'd like to go over is Shukadev Goswami. There wasn't really much, these verses are so potent, but there really were no real purports, so there were only texts. So I tried to pull out examples from the text to speak about. So in the little description in the beginning, it was mentioned that Srila Shukadev Goswami describes the beauty of Vrindavan, and he also spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I thought I would just speak a little bit about Shukadev Goswami. And Srila Shukadev Goswami, can anyone remember? He was actually in the 9 processes of devotional service. Does anyone know which one he mastered? Chanting, Kirtanam. He spoke the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. Parikshit Maharaj heard it. Chanting, which is super important. I think I've heard in different places that our chanting is like where 90% of our spiritual advancement comes from. I can't quote me on that exactly, but our chanting, our 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is a very important vow that we make to our guru and to the deities and to Prabhupada. And I've been going deeper into this chanting because none of us, or at least myself, I never really received training of chanting. I was just given beads and told a little bit about it, but I was never really told how to chant or what I should do when I'm chanting. We can attend seminars. Ramapad Swami will give holy name seminars, so I went to my dear friend, my mentor, friend, leader, Harisham Prabhu, and I said, when I'm chanting, should it be a time for introspection? Should I be meditating? Should I be reflecting on what I do with my life? Or should I just be focusing on the holy name? He says, wait. And he pulled up this paragraph, amazing article. And it was basically describing that whatever we try to think of between our two ears, if we try to use our mind to we're always trying to make our lives better, but our mind won't allow that, actually. The description was saying that we should put all of our energy into just hearing. We should just hear the holy name. And lately I've been trying to do that because during my chanting, I personally will cultivate the attitude of service, and I'll say, I can do this for the devotees, or I can do that. And ultimately, it should be our time with Krishna. If we're having a conversation, if I'm talking to Jai Baladev Prabhu, and then all of a sudden, I just ignore him, So I found that recently, I'm communing with the Lord, and if I don't give him my full attention, then I'm the one who suffers, actually. Krishna doesn't care, really. He doesn't need me. I need him. So we should be dependent on Krishna. And that's what Trinadapi Sunichena really means, is to be totally dependent. Totally dependent on Krishna, so that we can chant his holy name constantly. Shukadev Goswami, we should focus on chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And I'm just going to read another quick paragraph from the description of autumn. During the rainy season, in the evening, there are many glowworms visible about the tops of trees, hither and thither, and they glitter just like lights. But the luminaries of the sky, the stars and the moons, are not visible. Similarly, in the age of Kali, persons who are atheists or miscreants become very prominently visible, whereas persons who are actually following the Vedic principles for spiritual emancipation are practically obscured. This age, Kali Yuga, is compared to the cloudy season of the living entities. In this age, real knowledge is covered by the influence of material advancement of civilization. The cheap mental speculators, atheists, and manufacturers of so-called religious principles become prominent like the glowworms, whereas persons strictly following the Vedic principles or scriptural injunctions become covered by the clouds of this age. People should learn to take advantage of the actual luminaries of the sky, the sun, moon, and stars, instead of the glowworm's light. Actually, the glowworm cannot give any light in the darkness of night. As clouds sometimes clear, even in the rainy season, and sometimes the moon, stars, and sun become visible, so even in this Kali Yuga, there are sometimes advantages. The Vedic movement of Lord Chaitanya's, the distribution of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, is heard in this way. People seriously anxious to find real life should take advantage of this movement. Instead of looking toward the light, looking toward the what? Nice, just make sure you're paying attention. People seriously anxious to find real life should take advantage of this movement instead of looking toward the light of mental speculators and atheists. I just really like that paragraph, how the people who are strictly following Vedic principles and scriptures become covered, but those atheists become, they're the ones who are glorified and predominant in our culture. Prabhupada said, for those people who are serious, who are anxious, we should distribute the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And I myself, yesterday, Bhakta Adam and I were out on Sankirtan, and I didn't get so much time to do books. I was doing some errands and some sadhana and stuff like that, but there's just one person I got to teach them the Maha Mantra yesterday, and that was so satisfying. I could have done, numerous of other things, but if I could just do if I could give someone one book, or if I can just have them chant one holy name, it's like, wow, like makes me feel like I have a purpose, So to go out and just give one person a book, or to even give them some prasadam, it's really satisfying, actually. And so Shukadev Goswami chanting, the importance of chanting. And I wanted to just tell one more story. And this is something I heard from Mahatma Prabhu, who is a leader in ISKCON and an initiating guru, and he took Brahminical initiation from Prabhupada. There's a video of him actually receiving his thread and Prabhupada's chanting in his ear. So he's been around for a long time, and he has videos. He'll post daily videos on YouTube, and they're so incredibly useful, I find. So I'll watch them, and they're maybe 5, 6 minutes, at most 10 minutes. And he'll talk about things that devotees struggle with, and that that aren't really brought up in like Bhagavatam class. And he has so much like modern philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's amazing. But anyways, he was sharing this story. The video was titled "Strict with Oneself and Lenient with Others," and I think that's a quote from Bhakti Siddhanta, perhaps Saraswati. Anyways, he was describing a story of Kirtanananda. Prabhu, I think, was one of Prabhupada's first disciples. And Kirtanananda was very strict. He was very strict. And Prabhupada, he would keep a jar of gulab jamuns in his office. And because Prabhupada knew the devotees, they were addicted to meat eating and gambling and illicit sex. And Prabhupada knew that since they're going away from these sinful activities, they need some sort of they need some sort of sensual pleasure. I mean, prasadam is transcendental regardless, but so Prabhupada knew this, and he did it to please the devotees, and anyone could come and they could take a gulab jamun. And because Prabhupada knew their hearts, and he wanted them to stick around. And so Kirtanananda, he said that, only one gulab jamun. They can only take one. And so everyone became a little bit upset at this like rule that he imposed, And Prabhupada said, I didn't introduce this. You do not have to follow this. Take as many as you want. And when he had found out that Kirtanananda had made this proposal, Prabhupada said, okay, he can have one. He only can have one. Everyone else can have as many as they want. So he was trying to be austere, and if you yourself are austere, your heart will become hard, and then you'll judge others, thinking like, oh, they should do like me, why can't they be like me, look how serious I am. So Prabhupada, no, he washed that out right away, and he let the devotees take as many as they needed. And the essence of the story is that Prabhupada was never fanatical, and he said we should save all of our austerities for preaching. And he was describing a little bit about Chaturmasya too, about some of the devotees were wanting to follow Chaturmasya. I mean, I myself am fanatic, so if I hear of some like principle, I say, oh, I should try this, I'll make so much advancement. Never works for me though. But he was describing Chaturmasya, and how the devotees were like growing their beards and growing their hair. And his Prabhupada, he didn't really like this so much, but he said, why are you doing this? And he says, oh, Prabhupada, we're following Chaturmasya. He says, well, if you're following this, then you grow your hair, and you're supposed to chant 64 rounds every day, and you're only supposed to eat once a day. And he was saying, and when you eat, you're supposed to sit cross-legged and put your hands behind your back, and you can only eat just as much. You bow down, and you can only eat in one. You can only go when you come up. You can't go back. And Prabhupada, he didn't follow this actually. He was asked. And anyways, we should all our austerities are basically following the 4 regs and chanting 16 rounds. And we should just endeavor to become preachers ourselves, and then go out and try to share it with others to whatever capacity we can. Some people like Param Karuna, he can go and distribute thousands of books. Some people, they go out and they can distribute 1 book, and that's okay. Whatever one's capacity allows, we serve in that way. This is just something that I wanted to speak. I spoke about 3 topics. 1 is the wonderful activities of Krishna. 2 is upakarnya, or hearing. And 3 is Shukadeva Goswami, or chanting. So if there are any corrections or reflections or questions, anything in the mind that stuck out, use that time now for sharing. Thank you for tolerating.
Haribol, Alex, thank you for the class. It was
Hare
very
Krishna,
nice.
Damodar Smaran Prabhu.
I really liked, there's a couple things that I was reflecting on, but the, was Upakarnya?
Upakarnya, yeah, which
Upakarnya
is
hearing,
just a Sanskrit
just
term.
another word for, just a synonym for Shravanam, for hearing, right? Yeah, because that's, I've heard many times, I don't know, maybe if some scholar out there can find some sort of like shastric evidence for like where specifically this comes from, but it's been my experience, and I've heard from multiple other people that um, hearing, or the desire to hear more, or not being satisfied with hearing Krishna Katha, is a good barometer for our spiritual health. So that's one way of knowing if we are spiritually healthy or spiritually fit or not, is if we are anxious to hear more Krishna Katha, and if we, and hearing and chanting both together at the same time. So if we aren't anxious to hear and to chant, then we know that we need to make some adjustments somewhere, and go from there. So whether it's one of the offenses, one of the 10 offenses that we're not upholding, or for whatever reason, that's just a good way to kind of gauge whether we're on the right path or not. Like I'm reading right now, sort of a commentary on, it's a couple chapters, but after this, but the flute, the Venu Gita, the gopis are glorifying the flute of Krishna, and it's all, there's a beautiful, beautiful description. It's Shivaram Maharaj's book, and there's a beautiful description of the autumn season in Vrindavan. But what you find is when all the residents of Vrindavan are talking amongst each other about Krishna, um, they're they'll talk for like hours on end, and then someone will come, they'll bring up a new thing. They're like, oh wait, I want to say something, and then they're like, oh please, and they're so eager, and they're so encouraging of everyone to share their realizations about Krishna. So it's really beautiful. So it's just kind of, and then also Vaisheshika Prabhu says, he gave an example a long time ago about how, those little storm drains, that like when all the water, when it rains and it like flows down, and like at least in California it says, there's a little paint above it that says that the storm, the drains to the sea. So he said in a similar way that our ears are like those storm drains, and our heart is like the sea. So whatever we hear and whatever we're putting inside of here, it drains into our heart. So whether it's Krishna Katha, or kind of like how you made the connection with the mirror as well. So in a similar effect, whatever we're pouring into our ear, that's going to reflect, or it's going to drain into that ocean of the heart. So I was thinking about that. And then also Kirtanam, we were talking about Kirtanam, we were talking about Harisham's kind of realization about just hearing the holy name, and that's the best way to serve Krishna's holy name, because he and his name are not different. So if we figure what's the best way to serve him, it's by giving our full attention and our full hearts to the holy name. Because in modern conventions of meditation, it's what can I get out of this? And you'll find also with preaching too, like at first we may have to kind of describe the benefits of chanting and the benefits of meditation, because that's what everyone's mind is on at the moment, is, all right, what's in this for me? But then once you get to a certain point of realization or relationship with the holy name, then you find that when you sit down to chant, you actually get more out of it when you don't go into your japa thinking, all right, what can I get out of this? But instead, what can I give? What can I give to the holy name? So I was just thinking about that too.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, we should be very eager. Krishna Katamrita. Jai Baladev Guru.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for your class, and you made some wonderful points, especially about making sure people pay attention. And I really, in being interactive, I like to be interactive. And that's what I love about Dana Kaylee, Mataji's class. I think my brother also did it, Jai Jagannath Prabhu, because sometimes we may feel that, oh, there's so many people in Bhagavatam class, but are there really? If their mind is gone, there's like practically nobody. And that's why I appreciate you engage us, because generally in Kali Yuga, we're attentive when we give class, but when somebody else is giving class, And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure I got serious about my Krishna consciousness when I became, I got initiated. I was like, darn, I have to get more serious. That means I have to appreciate devotees more. I can't criticize them. And so this is regarding some of your points because you were mentioning when you gave this japa, this you met somebody new yesterday and you gave them
Mahamantra card.
the Maha Mantra card and let them chant.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And we see that devotees are very enthusiastic to give Krishna consciousness to people. And creating, new relationships, that's very easy. That's why I love that chapter 89 of the Bhagavatam where it describes, chapter 89 in the Christian book where it describes that Brahma's the creator, Shiva's the destroyer, and Vishnu's the maintainer. And we see that creating relationships, easy. Destroying them even easier, maintaining them. So we may go out and create some relationships, but how to maintain our relationships with devotees, that's the hard part. There's a quote that says, it takes many agreements to build a good relationship and only one disagreement to ruin it all. And so that's a problem. So my last point regarding this, your class, and I'm related to the autumn rainy season, is that regarding this point of maintaining our relationships with devotees, is that we see in the past on Ramachandra Puri, he was surrounded, his spiritual master Madhavendra Puri was on his deathbed. And he was crying in separation from Krishna, but he criticized the spiritual master, Guru Maharaj, why are you crying? I thought we were not the body. I thought we were spirit soul, so why are you crying? He speculated about him. And basically, I was meditating on this point recently because sometimes the autumn season, rain is considered favorable, but sometimes rain is considered, just like we had the parade, rain was considered unfavorable. So I kind of like to relate this analogy to the Ramachandra Puri pastime, and maybe you could expand on it. Ramachandra Puri, although Ramachandra Puri was surrounded by a sunshine of saints, but because he was surrounded by a storm of speculation on the inside, he was always miserable. Now look at Prahlad Maharaj. He was surrounded by a storm of demons on the outside, but because he was surrounded by the sunshine forgiveness on the inside, he always remained happy. And so we see that Ramachandra Puri, he was at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, but because he had the wrong mentality, speculation, criticizing devotees, nothing can give him happiness. Prahlad, he was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong people, but because he had the right mentality, love, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, he was always happy. So my question is that, Prahlad, he was thrown off a mountain, and he never said, Hiranyakashipu, you get on my nerve. When devotees, we're surrounded by sadhu, sangha, nama, kirtan, bhagava, shravan, mathura, vashi, mutir, shradaya. There's so many things to be grateful for, but that's a tendency. When I was hearing Bhagavatam class before, I was even complaining about my brother. I love my brother's classes, but when he was sitting class, he would extend the class longer by asking so many questions. But I just read a chapter in the Kapila Dev pastime, chapter 7. Lord Kapila Dev in chapter 7, it's described that Kapila Dev was so happy when Mother Devahuti would ask so many questions. Now, from my perspective, when I came to Bhagavatam, I was so miserable when people would stand in class and hold up prasadam. But I'm surrounded by so many good things. But so my question is that we could complain about so many things. We're surrounded by so many good things, and that's the nature of Kali Yuga. Complain about so many things. But Prahlad, he was thrown off a mountain. He never said, Hiranyakashipu, you get on my nerves. So what are some steps we could do to improve our gratitude and decrease our attitude?
Yeah, two things I thought of. First, you had mentioned this word enthusiasm, and we were hearing a lecture. Adam and I were hearing a lecture yesterday by His Holiness Radhana Swami, and he was describing how enthusiasm is so essential in spiritual life because if you want life, you must. He was quoting Bhakti Siddhanta, where a preacher must have enthusiasm. In order to preach, you must have life. And he says, if you don't, you're basically a dead man if you don't have enthusiasm. So I think enthusiasm is very important, and one of the symptoms of a preacher is that they're always eager to share Krishna consciousness. So I think I myself have found personally that if I'm diving headfirst into our process, then I have spiritual happiness and I want to share that with others because it's genuine. And people can feel that because it's Krishna, it's real. But if I myself am not taking to the process in a regulatory way, then the sense of gratitude, like you're mentioning, diminishes. So I think we should cultivate enthusiasm, sushukam, like joyfully performed. We should be happy. We should be eager. We should have enthusiasm to hear the scriptures, like Daniel Prabhu was saying. And to maintain our enthusiasm, we should go deep into our books and into our sadhana. And another point that I thought of was Romapad Swami during one of his lectures on the holy name. He has said something that has always echoed in my consciousness. He said, I don't want to lose my sense. If I stop chanting, I'll lose my sense of gratitude. So I think the more we're chanting the Maha Mantra, the more grateful we'll feel, and the more we'll see, Krishna in others, and we'll just naturally have this sense of like respect and appreciation. But if we're cutting corners or not hearing enough, and then your consciousness becomes fog, you're covered, So Krishna, associate with Krishna, our life will become bright. But we just have to take to the process. It's very simple, but difficult. Yeah, it's not easy. Chai, if anything more, we can end here. I just wanted to say how beautiful Kishore and Kishori look today. So beautiful. I don't know who dresses them every morning, but devotees are doing a great job. Chai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.